The bass was loud that morning. Helicopters cut through the pale sky, and the smell of jet fuel hung in the air like a permanent reminder of where you were and what this place stood for. Lieutenant Commander Darren Cole had been stationed at Fort Bragg for 3 years, and he wore that time like a badge, with his chin high and his voice always a half decibel too loud. He was good at his job. He knew it, and he made sure everyone else knew it too. He was standing near the main entrance hall with 2 of his team members when she walked in. She wore no rank insignia on her jacket, no medals pinned to her chest.
I don't think.
She moved quietly, unhurried, with a calm so complete it felt almost strange inside a building that breathed urgency. She was older, perhaps 60, with silver-streaked hair pulled back neatly and eyes the color of deep water. She carried a single, worn leather bag over her shoulder and paused briefly at the front desk, speaking to the young officer there in a voice too low to carry across the hall. Darren watched her. Then he nudged his teammate and smiled. "Think she's lost?" he said loud enough for the words to float across the corridor. His teammate smirked. Darren walked toward her, arms crossed, the posture of a man expecting to be entertained. "Ma'am," he said, voice thick with practiced authority, "can I help you find somewhere? Maybe the cafeteria? Visitor center?" He paused, then added the words with a grin sharp enough to cut. "Or were you looking for the gift shop? What's your rank, exactly?" She turned slowly. She looked at him not with anger, not with embarrassment, but with something worse. Patience. The kind of patience that has already outlived many storms. "I don't have one," she said simply. "Not anymore." Darren laughed softly. His teammates exchanged amused glances. He opened his mouth to say something else, something clever, something that would make this moment a story worth telling later in the barracks, when the door at the far end of the hall opened. 4 men walked in together. They wore 4 stars each. General Marcus Webb, General Diane Holloway, General Patrick Assay, General Raymond Tran. The combined weight of their service could have filled a library. The hall went quiet in that instinctive, electric way it always does when power enters a room. Spines straightened, voices hushed, eyes cut sideways to assess. They walked directly toward the woman, and then, without a word being spoken between them, all 4 generals stopped. They stood tall. They raised their hands to their brows in a slow, deliberate salute. "Dr. Vasiliev," General Webb said, his voice carrying reverence the way hymns carry faith. "It's an honor. We've been waiting for you." The silence that followed was total. Darren's hand fell to his side. The grin had gone somewhere he couldn't retrieve it from. He stood very still, as if stillness might erase the last 2 minutes from the record of the universe. Dr. Mara Vasiliev lowered her bag to the floor and returned each salute with a small, gracious nod. She had spent 31 years as a field surgeon in every theater of war this nation had entered since the mid-90s. She had operated on soldiers in tents while artillery shook the ground beneath her. She had held men together, literally with her hands, when everything else was falling apart. She had trained over 400 military surgeons. She had declined 2 presidential medals so that the funding attached to them could instead go to veteran medical research. She had buried a son who followed her into service and did not come home. And she had kept going. Not because it was easy. Because she knew what stopping would cost. She didn't say any of this. She never did. General Holloway stepped forward and extended her hand. "We have 17 soldiers in critical care following last week's operation. Your protocols are the reason 9 of them are still breathing. We requested you personally." Mara picked up her bag. "Then let's not waste any more time," she said as she walked with the generals toward the corridor. She passed Darren without looking at him. She didn't need to. The lesson had already been taught, not with humiliation, not with cruelty, but with something far more lasting. She simply walked forward, as she always had. Darren stood in the middle of the hall for a long moment after she disappeared. He thought about the way she had looked at him. Not angry. Not wounded. Just patient. He thought about his own career and all the moments he had confused confidence with character, volume with value, rank with worth. He thought about what it must mean to walk into a room and need nothing from it. No recognition. No performance, no proof. To simply be enough because of what you had given, quietly, over decades. When no one was watching, he didn't go to the cafeteria. He didn't tell a story in the barracks that night. He sat alone, and for the first time in a long time, he was genuinely, completely quiet. Some lessons don't come from training. They come from a single moment, unrequested, unannounced, that rearranges something permanent inside you. This was his.